Yeah, warm welcome from my side. Thanks for the very nice talk so far, and seeing that you're doing good progress. I was very inspired, Amy, by your presentation. Although I have a lot of context about it, but hearing it was very, very nice. So what I'd like to do today, and I promise it in the outline, is giving you a practical insights into integration architecture management. So Andre presented it this morning. This is one of our top 3 use cases, and I will try to make it as practical as possible with examples and also some insights on how we handle LeanIX at LeanIX. But before we get started, let me start with a hopefully nice picture. There might be 2 reasons why I show that. First reason is because that's pretty close to the LeanIX office in Bonn. So actually, it's just a 20 minutes drive. It's a nice wine area where you can do a lot of hikes. The reason why I'm showing this is because you will find a lot of those things, family and friends, going around, wandering around, hiking today. And there's a reason for that, because today is the German version of the Father's Day. So I'd like to use this occasion to wish you all fathers in the room, a happy German Father's Day. And let us all keep in mind there's one day which is even more important than this one, which is, of course, the Mother's Day. So. But I assume this one, it was like three weeks ago in Germany. I assume that was same timing here in the US. So I hope you all celebrated that with your wives and kids. So going from the traditions a little bit more into modern integration architecture and LeanIX. So we basically, and we heard it from Andre, have about 190 customers now online on LeanIX in more than 1,000 workspaces. We have more than 45,000 active users. I used that figure as well a year ago, and I can promise you that was much less by that time. So we increased that. We have in all those workspaces 1 million managed applications and about 500,000 managed interfaces. So just to give you some idea. So there must be something to this interface, and I'll give you just some background. We heard a lot about like digital transformation, and we see that a lot of customers. I would be wondering what the 3% have missed over the last couple of years that are not doing any initiative in digital transformation. But it's also recognized that with over the next year's integration work, so bringing systems together, we heard it from Hartford Consulting, like it's a long way to get this done. It's time, cost to build such a digital platform. And yeah, so this requires some kind of a radical change. And I mean, one factor supporting that, Amy, you mentioned it in your talk, maturing an API program. I think that's what the words you used. This is also like Gartner's view. This is also our view on that. These APIs are at the core of a modern application architecture, and having those monoliths break down into microservices. There was just a question on how do we actually handle microservices. We don't want to manually upload and update them. We want to have mechanisms that this happens on an automated basis, and nobody should care with Excel spreadsheets how to upload that data. That there needs to be integrations, and at LeanIX we offer such integrations. And API platforms are all about like building flexibility. So getting things that you didn't plan for and preparing you for a future. So things that you are not even expecting to build today, giving you that flexibility. My time at Deutsche Telekom, we created an API layer to like decouple the core systems, where you had like long release cycles, long times to get requirements into place, into a more agile layer where you could do your releases on a weekly basis. So this is all about APIs. This adds complexity. This raises the necessity to integrate things. Otherwise, your data gets lost, or you create data silos. So that's why a lot of IT leaders still say, yeah, legacy infrastructure makes it hard to introduce new technologies. And these are just some to name there. We all know about GDPR, HIPAA in healthcare, CCPA, and other data regulations, which makes it necessary to document, to make sure that data quality is high in the system, to show how data flows through systems, and to handle that data complexity. And again, integration challenges is what is blocking that, and what's even slowing down that process. We, as LeanIX, we want to remove the roadblocks for digital transformation. So starting at integration architecture, seeing how things are interconnected, that's crucial for us. So allow me to, I said I want to make it an example-based presentation. There's just one concept slide. The rest will be a lot of examples, a lot of stories that you might hopefully resonate. But there's one thing that is important, and this is our understanding of what is an interface and what is not an interface. So from our perspective and the customers in the room, I hope you have seen that within the onboarding. If not, please feel free to reach out if it's not clear after my presentation. So an interface is basically considered from a business perspective. So we are not talking about a technical interface. Obviously, several technical interfaces can make up from a business perspective one interface, and this is provided by an application, and it's provided by one application. So there's a provider application, and it can be consumed by a lot of applications. So this is the idea behind it. I will give some practical examples, but there cannot be several providers to one interface. The reason for that is we need to define ownership. So one application needs to take ownership of that. And there might be examples where this is very clear, or there might be where, for example, a REST API. There might be some examples where you might want to discuss FTP server in the middle, who owns that interface. And an interface transports data objects. So, and this is where end-to-end data flows come into place. You would want to show how your customer data flows from the creation process until all the places where it's consumed, or where it's read, where it's updated, and transferred into other systems. And it runs on a certain technology. So technology in that sense might be something like Enterprise Service Bus, it might be an API platform, it might be FTP, it might be REST. So all these kind of, and this is what I refer to as an IT component fact sheet type. So the ones amongst you who are familiar with our tool know if you open an interface fact sheet type, that's the kind of relations that you can see. On top of that, you can say what is the actual data flow direction. So it can be that direction, but it can also be bidirectional, or it can be the opposite direction. So that's quite important if we think about data flows in the end, like how do I show really an end-to-end. So forgive me that. I said I'm doing one concept slide. Now we're going into practical examples. So let's take our own application. This is LeanIX. LeanIX offers several APIs. I just laid out two of them. So the one is our LeanIX Pathfinder API. The ones amongst you who are a little bit more technical might have tried it. It's based on GraphQL. I could have added another one, which is REST, because it's also REST based, and you can get fact sheet information on that one. We have consumer applications, which could be Signavio as a result of our out-of-the-box integration, or a project portfolio management tool, which could be a custom integration. So this is the way we would model it. If you want to have user information, like what are the users, when was the last login, etc., you get that over our MTM API. So that's data object user. Technology is REST, and that might be relevant for consumer systems like identity management, identity providers, etc. So as I said in the beginning, APIs do have a clear owner. In that case, that's LeanIX. And we can use the IT components to lay that out here. So next example, open API. So take a sample application, and you have a product API, but you don't know who the consumer is. And you probably don't care. There are too many consumers. That's a model. I mean, we are talking about a model. And the model is, there's always a certain purpose for a model. So you want to answer business questions for that. And you don't create a model for the model's sake, but you create a model because you want to answer questions. So if it's not relevant for you, who is consuming this interface, then leave it out in that case. You have a product API. Yeah, that's good. You get product information about that. And you might want to add that there's an API platform that is the technology behind that. So you could answer questions like, which interfaces are already running on X-Way, which are not, which are candidates to bring them on X-Way. So these are that's the reason behind that. You might have a user API that might still have a different technology, so that you can give that exposure here. So let's take the example of middleware and ETL tool. I still remember having those kind of conversations in a lot of onboardings. How do I deal with my middleware, with my ETL tools? Where do they fit in that concept? So pretty easy. Let's take an example, ERP system. And we are strong advocates that middleware should be a technology to the interface. It's not a separate application. It usually doesn't have a business user. It fulfills a purpose. That's good. So we bring it as a technology to the interface. So what we see here, the ERP over the product service interface, using the SAP PI, so process integration, transfers product data to CRM and to the homepage. The same logic accounts to an ETL tool, which sits in the middle between those two. ERPs, billing service over the billing service interface, transfers user data to the finance system. Also, if you have such platforms, and I could have added here XY as well, this is a good way to hook into and see if you can pull out data in an automated way, so that interfaces, their data flow direction, the transferred data attributes get populated automatically. And we do have customers who have done that integration, and which adds great value for them. So next examples, manual interfaces and legacy. So I would assume everybody of you agrees a way should be API-based and should be connected via out-of-the-box integrations. That's nice. But we still have some stuff on-premise that is maintained, transferred in a legacy way. So using technologies like FTP or even manual extraction. So CSV files and then putting it, sending it via email, and then putting it into the system. So these might be questions that you, or programs, projects that you are running. So where you would want to identify, where are all my FTP interfaces? That's really something that's burning to be transferred to an API platform. Or where are all my manual interfaces? So which is where you can do a lot of human errors in that process, where you don't have real-time data, where you have to wait until this colleague is finally back from his vacation to do the upload, so that the data is up to date and once again. So this is why we are recommending to bring in these manual interfaces with a IT component manual. That helps you to identify all those and see which are actually the interfaces where we have a technical depth. So, and then working on those, setting up the projects, and seeing whom to involve to get those projects done. So this is just some introduction to give you an overview on what we understand as interfaces and how we handle them. We see that there are quite some important questions in terms of integration architecture. So CIO might ask, how are my applications interconnected? What prevents us from phasing out applications? We saw it in Andre's presentation this morning. Business partners might ask, what is the impact of a failing integration technology? Or which applications handle critical personal data? IT delivery might ask, how reliable are my integrations? And what is the enterprise and solution architecture context of this? So bringing those two worlds together. These are now questions that I'd like to show how we answered them at LeanIX using the tool for ourselves, because LeanIX runs LeanIX. Obviously, we are customers of our own tool and try to use it to answer the questions that you might have as well. So let's start with the first two ones. How are applications interconnected and what prevents us from phasing out applications? So you know that, and this is real data now. So you see we are focusing on application landscape. We are seeing how they are interconnected. And we have the possibility to also drill down here to you see that I did that presentation to see what are the applications in customer success and how are they interconnected. So this gives us, like, from the whole overview, a good chance to see where are we, and a possibility to easily dive down into the application itself. And doing a deeper analysis here. So when we look at this interconnectedness, this is easy. This is very fast done, and it gives us some, like, concentration points. We see for our own environment, okay, Salesforce has some, like, provided interfaces, some consumed interfaces. It's quite intuitive. You would easily see we in our not too complex environment that I'm showing here. Yeah, but this is definitely one of the focus points, whereas HubSpot is another one. So what we can do is, like, filter that down. We have customers that are where this shows up to, like, 5,000 interfaces, so that gets pretty crowded. You cannot basically read anything. But if you want to do it for a certain business capability and say, I really want to focus on that now deep level business capability, you get a picture like this. So that's actionable data that you can work on, that you can show, that you can see how interrelated are we really. Where are we depending on, like core system from corporate IT? Where is it relating to some shadow IT? Where is it communicating to some applications that we didn't even know about? So and take actions from there. It's a high level view, but it generates relevant content, and it's easy to jump here to more detailed view. So going to that more detailed view, that's where we just jumped. We saw, okay, we can expand that data flow. We see a difference between planned interfaces and retired interfaces. We are able to show attributes on the interfaces. So I said that's you can give all those attributes. You see what data objects, or where does customer data flow, and you can even combine two attributes there and say, okay, what's actually the frequency that we are transferring, and what is the data object. So it might be that one application is doing customer data on a weekly basis, the other one on a real-time basis. So that might explain some conflicts that you're experiencing when you do analytics. So having that here, this allows us to give, like, end-to-end data flows. We see the interface technologies. As you saw, you can switch between those. And it shows us, yeah, probably we will integrate HubSpot marketing to Gainsight, the tool that we are using at Customer Success, to get the direct input here. So this helps us to plan some strategy. So it's based on the life cycle of the interface itself. And it also shows that there was a time when Zendesk data was flowing into our CRM system at that point of time, nutshell. But it's not there anymore, so it's good. We could build it back, but it's still exposed here. Of course, we can, like, remove it, but for this purpose, I showed, like, the whole picture of it. So that gives us some further insights. How is data transferred? What kind of data is transferred? So what is the impact of a failing technology? what applications handle critical data. Let's continue here. So we are now doing a scenario where we are selecting Salesforce and easily expanding to the relevant picture here. So adapting it a bit so that we keep in focus. Now we are saying, what is the business criticality? So you saw that picture. I already had the feature a week ago, so I could take the sessions. And now I want to say, what is actually the business capability impact of those applications? So the scenario could be we are phasing out Salesforce. What kind of business impact would that have? So we see Salesforce is transferring customer data in a lot of systems. One is not so critical, but two seem to be business critical. So we should let's see what effect would that have. And I see within HubSpot marketing, not every application might be known to the whole company that well. I mean, for HubSpot, it's usually easy, but we see we are doing website and lead generation with that. So phasing out Salesforce, not feeding it anymore with Salesforce data would not be a good idea because we would lack in those capabilities. The same for customer success, onboarding and continuous management would not, and analytics in general would not be possible to do that if we phase out Salesforce. So you might adapt this kind of logic that's like LeanIX runs LeanIX, but I would hope that resonates with problems that you are facing and showing such impact for environments, domains, that you are discussing with your colleagues. So we can do really a context-specific analysis, and we can map out this business support. And obviously, you could not just drill down to business capabilities. You could do user groups or processes as well. So let's now go into a single integration. So LeanIX to Gainsight, that's one that we've built. And let's do some exploring here. So first of all, let's see what are the underlying IT components that we are using. Okay, so there's a Gainsight bulk API and there's a webhooks. So then next thing, what are the provider applications? So okay, LeanIX provides that. That can only be one. So true. Model still holds true. And there's one consumer to that, so not more consumers. And now we can see that seems to be quite an important integration because it connects business critical systems to each other. On top of that, we can expand to user groups. So the German part and the US part of LeanIX are using that. These should be the departments or the organizational entities that we should inform if anything goes wrong here. And we are supporting two business capabilities with that integration. So if we now see on a technical level that the webhooks mechanism fails, or that we get a note from Gainsight and who tells us, yeah, we are maintaining our API, or the API will not be available for a certain point of time, whatever scenario, or we are phasing out the API, I'm sure you all have your stories where such things happened or were announced. So then we can do the analysis here on like how relevant is that, for whom is it relevant, in which context is it relevant, and lay out that picture here. So and again, we can make use of all kinds of views that might help us to demonstrate even more how important that is. So let's go to a whole overview. Again, that's the whole LeanIX application landscape. And let's see where we are handling personal data, critical data. And we see here that we have the possibility to see in a heat map way very easily where's confidential data, where's restricted data. We can sort it by the legend to get a visual overview. Drill down again to make that as transparent as possible. So this is seeing the critical data. For those of you who didn't know, just a brief remark, there's a possibility to also sort the elements within the boxes. I would say that's kind of a hack. Not everybody knows that, and it's quite hidden, but I can really recommend that. And of course, you can like switch between business capability views, process views here if that's relevant for you. So next one, world map report. That we might have the question, where are the data objects stored? So I see that we are having a lot of applications in America, in Germany, UK, Canada, one application. Now I might want to know where's employee data stored. So I take the full employee data, and I can then see, okay, that's in the US and in Germany. And for Germany, I see two applications, Personio and Salesforce. So these applications are hosted there. And I can see, so that's based on the IT components that are underneath. So Personio, GmbH, so the SaaS IT component for that, the SaaS IT component for that, they have locations. That's how I see that this kind of, they have the data centers there, the SaaS providers. That's how I see where employee data, in that case, is stored, which applications, which location. So again, gives you a good visual insight on where your data is stored, quite intuitive, and you can be very flexible in the way you drill down here. So let's get to the next part. How reliable are my integrations from an IT delivery perspective, or what is the integration, the enterprise and solution architecture context of my application? So again, LeanIX to Gainsight integration. I'm asking myself, what is actually happening with that integration? So I'm looking at the fact sheet. I'm seeing all the interface providers, the IT components, so same data is here. And we have the matrix tab. What I can do here is for that, I can bring in like the events that have been transferred. I can see where we have failures. So I can see where the Gainsight bulk API was down. And I can see how that impacted the transfer of the mapping events, the MTM events, the fact sheet events. So this is a KPI-based evaluation of that integration. It decouples it a bit from like technical fit, which might be a result of that. But we can look at the data, and we can take our own implications out of it. So is that a reliable integration? Should we continue to invest here? Should we approach Gainsight for their bulk API because it was not available on that weekend? But our integration is running obviously constantly. So we can basically from here directly trigger discussions. So we could ask the responsible of that integration, which would be me, why is that not working in the way we intended it to be? And just to give you some insight, so this is another API that I didn't mention in the beginning from the LeanIX APIs. It's the Matrix API. It's a separate API, REST-based, where you can easily push data points in a time series basis. And then use that kind of information to take decisions. That's what we want to do. We want to enable you to take decisions. And basically, time series might, in some cases, be a very convincing, data point here. So let's come to the question solution architecture and enterprise architecture. This is Confluence, basically. We see that we already have a solution architecture view, a nice picture drawn in Visio. And now we want to, we've drawn basically a diagram in LeanIX, and we want to bring those views together. We want to make use of like further descriptions and discussion possibilities here, and we want to refer to that integration here in that fact sheet. So include some data here. So also features that we're where we showed that we launched them today. So you would see that this refers to that integration. We will get a link on the fact sheet. And this helps us now to understand on that basis what is actually the enterprise architecture view, and you can add whatever you want, whatever helps you to do that, and bring that together with that view, and have one Confluence page that you can be discussing about. This is always generated in real time. So if you change that bookmark in LeanIX, it gets updated here as well. So in real time it populates the data as it is in your workspace. So this helps the enterprise architect to reach out, to get into discussions with the solution architects, to have a common platform for documentation, for discussion, and to have a good overview on what's actually relevant. So to wrap that up, what we've seen in integration architecture management, the starting point, and that refers to basically all use cases, is the single source of truth. So you can create the full transparency about all dependencies, showing it in an interface circle map, showing it in deeper dive data flows. And you can establish ownership. So that's one of the crucial parts. Things fail, but who to reach out to? Where to find the source code, where to find whatever documentation is needed to troubleshoot. So this is the starting point. After that comes real-time analytics. Some you might be able to pull from integration or API platforms. Some you might be able to pull from open APIs. So and see where's the need for improvement. So which are like the ones that I should get resources from IT, or where I should get budget for to get them updated, because they are supporting critical processes, but they are not running in a reliable manner. So next one, I didn't go into that one, is about workflows. So triggering workflows from there, include experts. There are certainly a lot of experts in your company that might have the deep knowledge. Go with surveys and try to ensure some long-term data quality in certain aspects. But also make it easy for the people. So everything that you can automate, automate, because it reduces the effort. We just heard it in the previous conversation. So if we are looking at this user who doesn't log in on a regular basis, we want to make it easy for him. And perhaps if he's responsible for something, we pre-populate 50% of the data that he should be able to give, and he doesn't have to do a copy-paste from a different system into our system. And we are seeing, like, and these are just some examples: MuleSoft, Delboomi, SAP PI process integration, where you would find those informations in the context of integration architecture. And this basically should help you to make use of LeanIX, to get a more professionalism in integration architecture management. Okay. Thank you very much.